A very good evening, everybody. Welcome to LFS this evening for a quick LFS podcast, and one that we did not expect to be doing tonight. And there's big breaking news, as you can see on the screen. Mauricio Pochettino has left Chelsea this evening. A club statement was released around about 30 minutes ago, even less than that, saying that the club and Mauricio Pochettino have parted ways by mutual agreement. Certainly not the news we were expecting this evening. I'll just read it out to you in full. This is the Chelsea club statement. Sporting directors Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley said, on behalf of everyone at Chelsea, we would like to express our gratitude to Mauricio for his service this season. He will be welcomed back to Stamford Bridge anytime, and we wish him all the very best in his future coaching career. Mauricio Pochettino also made a statement on the club website saying thank you to the Chelsea ownership group and sporting directors for the opportunity to be part of this football club's history. The club is now well positioned to keep moving forward in the Premier League and Europe in the years to come. Jesus Perez, Miguel Agostino, Tony Jimenez and Sebastiano Pochettino has also left the club alongside Mauricio Pochettino, and the club says they will make no further comment until such time as a new head coach is appointed. So, that is the big breaking news this evening from the Premier League. The season has just concluded 2 days ago, and we're already talking about the managerial merry-go-round once again as Chelsea look for a new manager. How many times have we said that over recent seasons and recent years here in the Premier League? But that is huge breaking news this evening, that Mauricio Pochettino it has left the club. Of course, appointed last May after that long recruitment process. I mean, they had a very disruptive season last season, Chelsea, with Frank Lampard as interim manager to carry out the season. Graham Potter was sacked in April of last year after a quick kind of time in charge of Chelsea, but they've had a lot of managers over the last few years, and it's been the Chelsea way probably in the last 25 years where they don't give managers long contracts. They don't last very long at Chelsea. Unless you produce success, you do not last long at Chelsea. And Pochettino, although in respect to where they have been this season, 6th place and no trophies at the end of a season, historically at Chelsea is not a good season. Although I would argue the contrary, that Chelsea are on the right path and that they are moving forward, but clearly the club and Mauricio Pochettino believe that they cannot continue to work together and to build what they initially wanted to build when he was appointed around about this time last year. Of course, Chelsea have spent a lot of money on the players' side of things over the last season and a half, in the last couple of transfer windows, and really, that's a big question. You know, we talk all the time about how managers can carry over players. It's not their players. How can they deal with that situation? I think Mauricio Pochettino was actually getting to a good point with the squad. You know, we look at the end of their season. They were having a good end of the season, a good end of the campaign. They got 6th place. They got European football, considering where they were last season. At the end of last season, when they got no European football, they were in real dire straits, Chelsea, at the end of last season. I think Mauricio Pochettino has brought kind of a stability about the club, and that's why I think this is kind of a bit of a shock coming through. I mean, they won their last 5 Premier League games to the end of the season. They were in a very good run of form to that point. They were actually doing really well. But as we've said, this is Chelsea. This is what Chelsea do. This is what they've done in the past. And this is probably, it seems, what they will continue to do. You know, under the previous ownership of Roman Abramovich, it was really kind of hostile and really kind of, if you're not doing a good job, we're not going to hesitate to sack you. And we've seen that multiple times before. The many Chelsea managers there have been over the years, especially in the last few seasons, and especially last season. I mean, they had 4 different people in charge of the club in one season last season, Chelsea. So, really, it was a very turbulent season. And Mauricio Pochettino this season has brought a bit of stability, tried to get the players working together and actually creating something. And towards the end of the season, they were creating something. They were offering a bit. and we're improving, and you could see that with the squad. But that is also an interesting thing about what's going to happen next. I mean, who are they going to get in? We're going to talk about that. A few candidates that might be coming up for Chelsea. And do get your comments in the chat if you want to talk to us. Blessed says, okay, that's another frustration for Chelsea. Well, it is, because I really would like to know what they want at Chelsea, because they talked about wanting this long-term process and kind of having to build for the future and use the youthful side to really create something. But you got to realise, in modern day football, I mean, we've seen it with other clubs. I mean, you talk about Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, although he's had a lot of money, and Chelsea have had a lot of money. He's delivered a lot for the club, given time to build something. Jurgen Klopp given time to build something. Even Mauricio Pochettino himself at Tottenham started off in a very bad position. It took him a couple of years to get to what he wanted the club to be, the players he wanted to be, and to create the system and the whole kind of the club itself in his model, in his idea. I don't think Chelsea want that, but I also don't understand what they want. They want a long-term process, but they also don't want a manager to be there too long, to impose himself too much. I mean, Mauricio Pochettino, clearly, he obviously felt that it wasn't going the right direction, and that's what makes it a bit confusing on the same front. But it's very interesting to see what way Chelsea will go from now, to see what they do in the future. You know, what is Chelsea's approach now? Who do they go and get? Do they go and get someone that they know is available? I mean, Thomas Tuchel's going to be available. He's had history at Chelsea. Is that going to work with the terms that he left the club? Not even a season after he won the Champions League with Chelsea, he left. So where is their next kind of venture, this Chelsea team, and where do they go next? What manager do they go for? What approach do they go for? And do they stick to this kind of aggressive sacking approach of just sack him when he's not doing a top job and winning things? And I mean, we're going to talk about these candidates coming up for Chelsea, because there have been some interesting ones named. Of course, Thomas Tuchel. There was reports in the last few days that when Thomas Tuchel leaves, going back to Chelsea is an option for him. He wants either Chelsea or Manchester United. That was the report from a few days ago. And Thomas Tuchel's on the periphery here. You know, he says reports suggesting that it is an option that Thomas Tuchel is kind of looking for and wanting. Roberto De Zerbi, of course, has left Brighton at the end of the season, has also been an interest candidate. I'm not saying there's been any talks, but he is a candidate in the running, in the mix, of course, with him leaving Brighton and having done a very good job with Brighton their first European season, bringing them European football for the first time in the club's history, and then carrying them to a very good European campaign. I couldn't get them European football this season, though, at Brighton, finishing 11th, but Roberto De Zerbi has done a very good job there. Of course, at Brighton, and he's a big candidate. Another one that's been reported in Germany reports that Hansi Flick has also shown interest in the Chelsea job here this evening, so Hansi Flick could be a possibility. Of course, the former Bayern Munich manager and German international manager as well, Hansi Flick. He's also in the mix. So there are candidates on the list here to see, you know, what the next step is, basically, for Chelsea. Jose Mourinho's out there. I don't think that's going to happen. Very much don't believe that Jose Mourinho's going to come anywhere near back to Chelsea, or the likes of an Antonio Conte either, who's also available out there somewhere. Really does pose the question, where do Chelsea go next? Who do they want? What do they want from next season? Because yes, the club are going to improve and they're going to get better, but we look at the teams, you know, the feeling is maybe they want to get back to Champions League football. But you look at the teams that are here, Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool, they're all going to improve. They're all going to be in and around with a shout. Tottenham are going to improve if they stick with Ange. They're starting to build. Newcastle have had a poor season. They're going to be back in the mix. If Man United can get their stuff together, they're going to be in the mix. So top four is not going to be an easy thing for Chelsea to get next season. They're going to be in that mix of teams that are going to try and push for that spot and are going to more than likely it can happen. They might miss out. So is it the point that next season what they're going to try and do is we're going to go for Champions League football, and if we don't get it, well, we're going to sack the next manager, and we're going to sack him, and we're going to move on to the next person, and then do the exact same thing again? Is it kind of that rinse and repeat idea of constantly trying to go for something, and if it doesn't work, cut ties right away and go for something new? Because at one point they're going to run out of options. I mean, it's really a short market. There's not many top managers out there. I mean, Man United have this problem. They don't want to get rid of Erik Ten Hag because they don't feel that they're going to get someone who can kind of better that at this moment in time. There's no one out there available that can do an amazing job at a top football club. All the main top managers in European football are kind of contracted to positions. I mean, one that has been talked about for the Liverpool job, and has been talked about maybe a West Ham move as well before Julian Lopetegui was officially announced, or officially agreed a contract at West Ham. Ruben Amorim, of course, the sporting manager, is very highly rated in Portugal. He could be coming in at Chelsea. He could be doing a job if they want to go down that route. But then again, I would kind of wonder whether Ruben Amorim will be that type of manager who would go for a longer process or go for a short-term fix. You know, it's all about what Chelsea are going to go for, and we need to wait and more reports coming out and more details to emerge about what actually Chelsea want from the next manager, because at this moment in time we actually don't know what they want. And I mean, the question, and it will stay out here, and we've put it on our socials as well here in LFS. It's on the community page on the YouTube channel, and also on our Twitter post. We put a poll up: did Mauricio Pochettino deserve more time at Chelsea? And because of course he's left by mutual consent, you can probably disregard that comment, but at the same time, did he deserve more time? Did he deserve to go into next season having an opportunity to try and build upon what he's got this season? I mean, a 6th place finish for a manager whose club weren't in Europe last season and have got European football, that's the definition, that's clear progress. Although it may not be back to Champions League and back with the big boys, that takes time. And we've said this multiple times, the new ownership coming in, bringing so many young players in, a big squad that has to be culled, that has to be sorted, that has to be organised by a manager, and also he has to get them playing on the pitch really well. I mean, Chelsea wouldn't be in this position, arguably, without Cole Palmer. I mean, if Cole Palmer hadn't hit the form that he did, 22 Premier League goals this season, 32 Premier League goal involvements, I mean, that's sensational for a player in his first season at Chelsea, and his first season as a main starter in a Premier League club. So that's incredible, and there's no doubt that he might be able to do that next season. But Chelsea are going to grow. They're going to improve year on year on year, and if that Cole Palmer doesn't get to the level that he did this season, are they going to be worse off than where they are? You know, they're still going to take time. And the fact that he got European football, Mauricio Pochettino, is actually a real miracle. I mean, at the start of the season, we maybe predicted Chelsea would sneak in for European football. Considering the way they were playing, you know, we look at the start of the season and the way they started the campaign, they really didn't start well, Chelsea, and they were really struggling to get results, especially at home. I mean, we look at how bad they were at times. You know, we talk about the Brentford defeat, we talk about Aston Villa defeat, Forest defeat at home. Those types of results against teams they should have been beating at home. Then big defeats away at Everton, away at Newcastle, at times really showed the real struggling nature of Chelsea. But they started to improve towards the back end of the season. As I said, they won their last 5 Premier League games. You know, they were improving, they were building, they were starting to gain that connection. I think Pochettino was starting to see which players he could trust, which players he couldn't trust, which players he wanted in the team and which players he didn't want in the team, and what he wanted, what vision he wanted. But clearly, from what we've seen and what the news was broke this evening that he's left the club, clearly they didn't. Pochettino didn't see a path forward, the club didn't see a path forward, and they've mutually agreed to part ways. Very, very interesting, and we'll get more developments and more news on this as the days string on, and we go further into the summer when the transfer window opens, and and Chelsea start preparing for next season, because surely their search will start now. Although the question was, and I heard it from one of the reporters on Sky Sports News, of course, talking about Chelsea hadn't, out of respect of Mauricio Pochettino, hadn't started looking for a new manager up until they won't start until they've sacked him, or not sacked him, until they've mutually parted ways. So until that was announced, they haven't looked at anybody yet. They haven't decided, or haven't even kind of went out into the market and said, kind of put feelers out as to who they want to get in next season. So it's a real kind of long process that they're going to have to move quickly on. You would want your manager in by the pre-season. Pre-season is about a month and a half away. You know, you wanted your manager in, settled and ready to go to get the team prepared for starting next season, because for all we know, that manager could want completely different football, completely different ideas, very different system, different tactics, different things that he wants his players to do, and that will take a whole pre-season to try and get that out and start to build from next season. If Chelsea think, and I will say this and I will say it confidently, if Chelsea think that they're going to get back easily battling with the Champions League clubs by sacking Mauricio Pochettino and finding a new manager and thinking it's going to work instantly, they're going to have a big shock coming their way, because that's not how football works, and that's not how football in the Premier League works anymore. You can't just appoint a manager and get success right away. That's not how it works. How many times have we seen it? Yes, they get a bit of a bounce in the first 5-10 games, but once they get down to the nitty-gritty and things start to go against them, inevitably, they're going to find a hard spell. They're going to have a tough patch, and that's all about getting through that and growing with the team, taking time to build what they want to build. There might not be that time at Chelsea, but I just think the way that football is going, you kind of need that time to build what you want to build and be the best that you want to be. And particularly in this day and age, maybe that's not possible for Chelsea anyway. And we'll see what they move forward. So just to reiterate before we leave you this evening, here on this LFS podcast this evening about Mauricio Pochettino, reacting to Mauricio Pochettino leaving Chelsea this evening by mutual consent after just one season in charge. Of course, the statement read that Chelsea FC can confirm that the club and Mauricio Pochettino have mutually agreed to part ways. Pochettino said in a statement to thank you to the Chelsea ownership group and sporting directors for the opportunity to be part of this football club's history. The club is now well positioned to keep moving forward in the Premier League and Europe in the years to come. The club's statement said, on behalf of everyone at Chelsea, we would like to express our gratitude to Mauricio for his service this season. He will be welcome back at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge at any time, and we wish him all the very best in his future coaching career. The club will make no further comment until such time as a new head coach is appointed. So the breaking news tonight from the Premier League is that Chelsea and Mauricio Pochettino have parted ways. Who is going to be the next Chelsea manager? Did he deserve more time? And where did Chelsea go next? All of that to come in the next couple of days. But for now, they're on the hunt again for a new manager. Good night.